Well, there's hardly anything left now. I've got the bottom case turned around, so we're looking at the back of it here. And first thing we're going to do is remove this board. Well, let me explain what's going on here a little bit first. Okay, on the side here, we've got the power switch and the power connector. Looks like these are going into a big old transformer, and you can't see it, but behind all this is the whole power supply system. This board is sort of the guts of the back, and that's what directly drives the carriage. Over here we have a microcontroller, an Intel microcontroller, and I assume that those are the ROMs for the microcontroller. You can check this for power. I believe it's pin number 1 on the microcontroller right there. You can check that for 5 volts. The ROM is socketed, so you can pry that up and put it back down if that feels like it needs to be reseated. And finally, this little connector here is what goes to the keyboard, so that goes down underneath the aluminum plate here and pops back up there, which plugs into the keyboard. So that's the connection to the keyboard. We'll take off this board here. That's pretty easy to do. Getting the bottom board out, you can get it out without having to remove this whole assembly here, but it's kind of difficult, and I'm going to go ahead and remove that whole assembly anyway. But let's start by just removing this board. Okay, to remove this board, there's a small plastic plug here. You just have to pinch that together. Ditto on this side. Once you can get this pulled out a little bit, you just have to pull it straight up to release it from this connector here. So let's see if we can do that relatively quickly. That side came out pretty quick. That side is being a little bit more stubborn. That's come out. We'll tip it forward a little bit, and then I'll just rock it back and forth a little carefully to get that out. There it goes. And so that's the board. Backside, it's just a printed circuit board. No big deal. This guy does have some capacitors if you want to replace them. There's one here sticking up, one there, one there. Let's see, that's 3. I think that's it. That's just a resistor. This looks like it's an inductor. Yeah, I think that's it. To get that whole rear power assembly off, there are only 4 bolts you have to undo. 1, 2 on this side. Be careful, because when you undo this one, of course, you've got this grounding strap that goes to the carriage assembly. And over here on the other side, 2 more, same idea. This one and this one. So I'll go ahead and remove those. Then you got to be a little careful. You have to sort of ease out the serial connector there. That's going to have to come straight out. And same with the power cable there and the switch here. I've got those bolts out of place, so let's see if we can just ease this thing out now. I think I'll see if I can get the power switch out first. And that's just going to come out. Let me just lift this out carefully. And there it goes. Something's, oh right. Unplug the connector to the keyboard. Keyboard unplugged. There it is. If we take a look at that board, that's the main power coming in. Boy, I think that was like 25 volts or something. I replaced the capacitors. There's a whole bunch of them here. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th one behind there. 6, 7, 4, 5, 6. I think there's 6. I replaced all of those. Let's pull that board out. It's not too hard to do. It has a couple more of those little, actually, well, yeah, I might as well. A little connector here. Another one of those here, those little standoffs. And I think that's all. So let's see if we can get this off in one shot here. There's that side. There it goes. Ah, right. And right, there are 3 screws back here. And of course, you're going to want to disconnect this. Let me get those nuts off. Those are kind of difficult to get back on when this thing is still in the case. So it's up to you. Honestly, most of the time I worked on it in the case. I just was too lazy to take it off and just dealt with getting those bolts on and off. But I'll take those out next. Okay, I'm just getting this 3rd bolt off here. And now this board should just come right out. There it is. And you can see the various capacitors and stuff there. Okay, this capacitor here, the big one, this was a pain in the butt. It's got 2 connectors there to go in. And then this is grounding pad here. There's a spot for really just a standoff, just to physically provide support for it. The connectors on the bottom here, if you go online, you'll find that those, you can find plenty of those in a snap-on configuration, but not a solder-on configuration. So I just got what I could to solder it on and then just kind of shoehorned it in. But you can actually see it there. There's a little circle. That's where it's supposed to go and where the original one went. But you can find that and solder it into place. Bit of a pain, but there it is. And then the rest of this, well, there it is. Pull this out. And now there's nothing left but that bottom connector, or the bottom case. Since I've got this all open, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up. And then I'll put it back together and probably make some comments while putting it back together too.